Well, Terry, thank you so much for coming by.
Thanks
it's
for having
always
me.
great to see you.
It's great to see you.
Yes, I'm missing your other half.
Yes, she's in the hotel walking the red dress collection
Right?
tonight for American Heart Association. So it's going to be great.
That's going to be great.
Yeah.
Before we get started, how are you feeling?
I'm great. You know, I had a little mini stroke because of the hole in my heart, and it was solved with an 11-minute procedure by a cardiologist, and now I'm just back to normal.
Good.
Yeah, I got lucky.
You did.
My wife saved my life, let's be honest.
I know. I remember she was here, like, I think only a couple days after it happened, or right after, and, you know, it was definitely a scary situation.
Yeah, I mean, it could have gone a very different way, you know, but luckily she forced me to get in the hospital. I didn't want to go, and now that she did and saved me, I have no risk anymore.
Definitely.
I got lucky.
Yeah, definitely. And I'm sure you showered her with love and gifts and all these things.
She's saying, that it could be more. It could always be more. So I'm sure there's more gifts in the future.
Right, Valentine's Day right around the corner.
Right.
Botched, new episodes.
Yes.
So excited. I watched the most recent one. It's fantastic.
Thank you. Yeah, I mean, this season is different because all the patients that we passed on that we thought were just too risky, too complicated, not worth it, we took those on this season. And that's, it's the practice of plastic surgery. After doing 10 years of botch, I believe it's been 10 years, that we said, well, let's take this skill set and apply it to those patients we passed on. And that's what this season's all about.
Yeah, no, and you're really changing people's lives. I mean, especially the girl who's about to go blind.
Oh.
I mean, it just pulls on your heartstrings.
It's funny. The producers have changed up the show. It's a lot funnier, but there's a lot more tears also. So this is my favorite season. This was a scary season. I actually thought we'd have a lot more complications than we did. We were sort of saying, okay, we're taking on these impossible cases. We're going to have complications. There's going to be some botch by the botch doctors this season, which is so scary when you think about it. But I think you've got to watch it. I think we had a great season, and it came out really, really well. So I'm happy.
What surgery made you the most nervous? What was the most challenging for you?
So I think it's on this week, there's a woman who had a congenital deformity where she was born with her intestines outside of her stomach. It's called omphalocele.
Okay.
And so, you have to take her right back to the operating room after birth, 2 days of life and put it back in, but it destroyed her abdominal wall. So I took her to the operating room. Everybody else passed on it, as you probably should.
Yeah.
I took her to the operating room and opened everything up. The problem is there's intestines in the abdominal wall. Wow. And the last thing you want to do to try to fix a cosmetic problem is get into the intestines and give her a functional disaster that could put her in the hospital or worse. Yeah. So this episode's really interesting. I do run into the intestines. Luckily, I am a general surgeon. I was board certified in general surgery too. So, intestines, although I don't want to see them in my plastic surgery field, I'm comfortable operating on them if I have to. So it was really scary and challenging. And I think you've got to see the way it turned. I mean, the woman was from Hawaii. Right. So in the bathing suit every day, in her 30s. Right,
and you had to reconstruct like a belly button for her and everything.
She didn't have a belly button.
Right.
Yeah. So that was a tough case. That was a really interesting case. But there's a lot of destroyed buttocks this season.
Right. There was like the shark.
Yes.
The hips.
That was hard, but there's another one that's even more challenging.
Yeah.
Destroyed buttocks from those illegal injections where a general surgeon had to remove them, and now they have nothing. And these are, young women with no butt. I mean, it's not like I just want a Brazilian butt lift and be a little bit bigger. I have nothing. Yeah. So we took that challenge on. This particular one coming up, we passed on her in previous seasons because it was just forget it. Too hard, too impossible, too risky. And I had a little thing happen, but it was kind of dramatic and scary for me and her. But I think we got on the other side of it.
Good. I mean, what made you want to bring back like somebody like that, like these impossible surgeries that you passed on before? What makes it different now for you?
Yeah. So, it's not like you can. So it's the practice of medicine. Yeah. Okay. You can go to the best program in the country. I trained at UCLA's plastic surgery department, and pass all the tests. That doesn't mean you're necessarily experienced at doing a particular type of surgery. Nobody sort of trains you in doing impossible surgery.
Of course, yeah.
But after 10 years of going to the school of botched, right, you become really specialized and really comfortable doing super difficult, impossible surgery. So we thought, if there was a season to apply these 10 years, this decade of skills to, this is it. Let's take those patients we passed on who are walking around hopeless, destroyed, depressed. These are deformities you can't hide with clothing.
Yeah.
You know, so we said, let's bring those on and really see if we can help them.
Yeah.
So super scary, really fun, a lot of humor, a lot of tears.
Yeah. What kind of moved you the most? And what still does? What sits with you the most after these 10 years?
Yeah, you know, we're really sensitive to when they have a deformity and they come in with their parents.
Yeah.
And you're sitting there and their parents are telling you the stories of their kids growing up, because we have kids.
Yeah.
You know, and our kids, you know, I have a lot of LGBTQ kids who go through a lot of various emotions and difficulties and societal pressures. So you can really relate to children growing up with issues.
Yeah.
So when they have physical cosmetic issues, you know, we try to sit there and we're filming and say, don't cry, don't do it. And you know, you can feel the camera, you know, they're zooming in and you go, and no, don't do it, don't lose it, don't lose it, be a professional. But there was a couple, Paul loses it.
Yeah, he loses it all the time.
Paul, you can mention one of his kids or his mother and he's like, he's done.
He's done. I love that. You know, the two of you have such a wonderful friendship after 10 years, but is there ever like that moment where you had a disagreement about how you approached a surgery or things like that, or a case that you want to take on, he didn't?
You know, it's funny, after 10 years, we're so close. It's like going through a battle, a war together. He's like my bro, you know, like band of brothers kind of thing. But only, you know, it's funny, we have similar training. I trained at UCLA, you trained at USC, which of course is inferior to UCLA, let's be honest. But similar kind of sensibilities. He's a really smart guy, super experienced. So we agree more than we disagree, but every once in a while a case will come on and I'll go, oh, I want this case. And because he's a head and neck surgeon, so he can't do the body. So he has a case this season, which may be the case of the entire series, this woman with this giant facial tumor. I saw that on the trail, they took her at the University of Mexico, took her to the operating room, opened it up, it bled so much they went, forget it. It was like what we call a peek and shriek. They closed it and they said, forget it. And so for the next 5 years, it just grew and grew and grew and grew, pulling down her eye. She's got 3 kids. She's got a retail store with this huge tumor on her face. He got to take that on. I really wanted to do that case. But, you know, not easy.
Not easy.
Very, very difficult. He had to take it to the hospital to do it. It was a big deal. But wait till you see this. It's just amazing.
No, I mean, like you said, you're changing lives, doing all these things. Is this still as much fun for you as it was day one?
It is more fun. You know, it's my legacy. You know, I'm the botched doctor. I wouldn't do, we just want to keep doing it because there's so much need. You know, it used to be in the beginning harder to get casting for it. You know, people weren't aware of the show. Now we're inundated, flooded, and from all over the world now. So, you know, my practice has changed too. 80% of my practice is out of state patients. 50% of those are out of country. So I operate on patients from all over the world now. It's the most fascinating medical practice in plastic surgery, I'm convinced.
Yeah, no, definitely. It really is.
I love it.
I love the show. It's fantastic. It really is. 10 years later, I still enjoy watching it just as much as I did as day one. What are kind of the fads that you're noticing right now that
in plastic surgery? Well, you know, it's all about the Ozempic type drugs. It's about
talk about
these miracle weight loss drugs. So people are skinny. People have lost weight. The thing about these drugs is you lose weight very quickly. So the faster you lose weight, the more skin laxity there is. So tons of sort of weight loss surgery on patients who, if you're a little chunky and you lose it super fast, your arms are really loose, your face is really loose, and it's happening in younger people. So we're seeing younger patients come in for facelifts, for tightening procedures. That's the big trend that I think we're seeing in plastic surgery that's different.
Is Ozempic here to stay?
It is not only here to stay, thank goodness. I know there's a lot of critics about it. By the way, go to medical school if you want to critique this drug for the #1 risk factor of all causes of mortality in this country, obesity, all right? Because not only is it here to stay, it's a miracle. It's the biggest medical breakthrough in history. It not only treats obesity, it helps kidney disease, it helps cardiovascular disease, above and beyond what it does for weight loss. It helps people with fatty liver infiltration. I'm convinced it turns off the noise, the food noise, the addiction noise. I'm convinced it helps, and there's some studies showing that it may help people with cigarette addictions, heroin addictions. This is a new field of medicine that's fascinating, and it's great. And if you can turn down the food noise and control your weight, control your appetite, just as long as you learn how to do it.
Sure, because I know that you recently went on it.
I went on Mounjaro, which is like the dual drug. There's Ozempic and Wegovy. That's the semaglutide, and then there's the newer one, Mounjaro, that has 2 hormones in it. I went on that. I gained 18 pounds. You know, I went on vacation, gained all this weight, came back from Europe, continued to eat, and all of a sudden I'm like, you know, I mean, I'm 65 years old. I don't need body fat. I don't need fat around my heart, encroaching my heart, giving me risk of cardiovascular disease. So, and all my patients are on it. I thought, perfect. I want to see what it's like. I went on it. And it has side effects. You have to learn how to use it. You don't use it the same way diabetics use it, but no one knows. So we're discovering how to use these weight loss drugs. I know how to use them now, but you have to be really careful. You know, when you lose weight by diet and exercise, 75% of it's fat, 25% of it's muscle. When you lose weight on these drugs, it's 50-50. You lose more muscle mass, and you don't want to lose muscle mass. So you have to increase your protein. You have to get in the gym and do resistance training, and you can't drink on it because you'll be sicker than you've ever been in your life.
Did that happen to you?
I had one night. So it was a Sunday night. I did it on Sunday night. It was my 3rd week doing it. I went with a friend of mine to a Mexican food restaurant. I had 2 margaritas, just 2 regular one-shot tequila margaritas. I went home, and from 9 to 3 a.m., 9 p.m., 3 a.m., I was like sick, and it was incredible. So you have to be careful. And you have to know how to use it. That's why don't buy it on the internet and just start injecting yourself. You're going to end up in the hospital. Get it from a doctor. It's a drug with a prescription who will tell you the do's and the don'ts.
Got it. And what were some other side effects that you experienced?
I think pretty much everybody, to a certain degree, will have nausea within the first 2 days. It's a weekly injection, right? So let's say you do it on a Sunday night. Monday, you're going to go, not only am I not hungry, I feel kind of icky. And then second week, maybe ickier, instead of just Monday icky, Monday, Tuesday icky. And then you start to get used to it. But in 4 weeks, you're supposed to up the dose. You up the dose, you're going to feel icky. And then the people I've talked to who were on it, I was only on it 6 weeks, and I went off it not because of the side effects. I wanted to eat. The holidays were coming, and I'm a joyous eater, you know? I love to eat. New York, here I am. It's all about the restaurants you have here. And the food, the bagels and the pizza, forget it. But so I went off it just because I wanted to eat again. But, you know, nausea, low-grade nausea, you get some diarrhea, or you get constipation. What it does, it slows down your GI tract. So if your stomach isn't emptying as fast, you can get more reflux. Very common to get GERD, heartburn, and very common to get constipated. So, but I think worth it. Worth it. And the thing we don't really understand is you don't need diabetic doses, and it's being prescribed in diabetic doses. You probably should just stay on a low dose or go off it once you lose your weight.
Got it.
Yeah.
How much weight did you lose?
I lost here's what's weird. I ate like a human, but in 6 weeks I lost all 18 pounds. And normally, I mean, I think I probably lost most of it in 4.5 weeks.
Got it.
So that's the other weird thing that we don't understand physiologically at all. You lose weight faster. So even if you eat 1,000 calories on a regular diet and you exercise, let's say you lost this amount of weight. If you eat 1,000 calories on these drugs, you lose this amount of weight.
Got it.
Why? It has something to do with sugar regulation and pancreatic insulin secretion that we're just learning. But, you know, these drugs are studied in the New England Journal of Medicine. This is not like a joke.
Right.
I mean, the best institutions in the country are publishing major studies that we read, we have the data, they are safe, but you have to learn how to use them.
Yeah. I think a lot of people are wondering if when you go off of it, do you gain back the weight right away?
So,
not right away, but.
Not right away, but I will tell you that's been the criticism.
Sure.
If you go off, you're going to gain all your weight back. Well, I have news for you. If you go off your diet and your exercise routine, you're also going to gain weight back. So, it's really good as a reset, or you get down to your body, the body weight you want. You either stay on it at a low dose, or you go off it and say, okay, I'm going to make better food choices. But these criticisms that you're going to gain all your weight back, or that it has all these side effects, it's a drug. That's why it's FDA approved. That's why doctors prescribe it. But I have a really good idea how to use it.
Yeah.
But until you learn how to use it for you, we're just figuring it out.
Sure. And then what do you have to say? I know, obviously, you spoke out about Jillian Michaels because she had some criticism about it. She was here too, and she told me, in a few years from now, this is going to be very dangerous.
Wrong. Well, I'll tell you why that's wrong. Okay. And this is why, look, Jillian Michaels is wonderful. She's a fitness expert. She knows what she's talking about. But this is a disease, obesity, okay? And this is not a new drug. These drugs have been around for about 10 years now, okay? And they have been studied completely. We understand if you're on it for a year, like let's say you're on Mounjaro, the double drug, you'll lose about 23% of your weight. If you stay on it, okay, and this is what she was saying. Oh, if you stay on it, you're going to get used to it like coffee. Not true. Article in the New England Journal of Medicine. You'll gain about 14% of your weight back if you stay on a low dose. That means you keep off 86%. So it's not true. Your body does not get used to it. You maintain your weight loss. And are there toxic side effects that we're going to learn about later, like it's some kind of drug that's brand new? No, it's been used in diabetics since 2017. So millions of patients have been on it. We understand the side effects intimately. I have news for you. Tylenol is more dangerous than these drugs. Tylenol is one of the most dangerous drugs you can take. In fact, there's, been an epidemic of liver failure from Tylenol. So the FDA has put out a thing about do not let your patients take this much Tylenol. It's really highlighted by the opioid epidemic because a lot of the narcotics have Tylenol in it.
Got it.
Aspirin is dangerous. These are way less dangerous and way more important.
Yeah. I mean, but then who do you recommend taking Ozempic? Because that's, I think, the other thing too. Because if you're still a fit person that maybe wants to lose 5-10 pounds and can't seem to get there, do you recommend it for those people?
I'd rather they did it through diet and exercise, but if diet and exercise was the key to weight loss, would there be an obesity pandemic?
No.
So I think if you're look, 15, 20, 25 pounds is where the risk of cardiovascular disease starts to go through the roof, right? So if you're having trouble breaking through your barrier, even if it's 10 pounds, but you just can't get it off, a short course of this might help you reset your body. This is an interesting statistic that people don't realize. The first 10% of your weight loss gives you 90% of the medical benefits. And the reason for that is because you lose the first 10% from the inside, the visceral fat that's coating your heart and your organs. So just taking off 10% in someone who's kind of obese gives them 90% of the medical benefits. So worth it to just take off 10%.
Totally.
So if this is what you need to get you over the hump, worth it.
Last question about it. Is there an age limit? Would you let teenagers, would you let?
So,
because I'm sure that's going to be the next thing.
So it is FDA approved for 12 to 18 year olds. Okay. So if you have an obese 12 to 18 year old, talk to your doctor, get a consultation, and consider, yes, obesity is not as risky in a 12 to 18 year old as it is in a 55 plus year old, where it's really risky. But still, a lot of sort of diseases. You can get diabetes as a young child, all the psychosocial aspects of being significantly overweight in children. So, I mean, I wouldn't necessarily prescribe it I don't prescribe it. Okay, I send it off to specialists.
Sure.
But I have a gazillion patients on. Look, in the right setting for a child, it's something should be considered.
Interesting. Well, speaking of children, how are your children doing?
They're great. You know, we're now living more in Beverly Hills than we are in Orange County, although we're living in both.
Yeah.
And they moved schools, and they're doing very well up in the Beverly Hills area. You know, we're a little concerned. We're moving our kids to Beverly Hills, you know. But they're thriving. There's some challenges. You know, we have LGBTQ kids. And even though we're in California, which is very accepting, there's, you know, pockets of people who still are sort of, you know, backdated in their ideas. So there's always a challenge, but we're there to support them.
Definitely. And how do they handle that?
You know, the schools they go to are very progressive and very aware.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of people that are available to them to talk to if there's challenges. Yeah. So it's a really good place to raise these kinds of kids with these kinds of challenges. So they know at home, it's 100% accepted. So they're very open with us. And then at school, the schools they go to are fantastic.
That's great.
So, yeah.
That's good. What did you learn? What have you learned from your children in these past few years? I know last year you announced that Ace was transgender. And how have you navigated this past year for Ace and for your family?
So it's very challenging.
Yeah.
It's challenging because it's now, even though, you know, we live in a community that's sort of smallish, it's a global community. And we're sort of people who are in the public eye, so we know they're subjected to social media. That's, to me, the biggest challenge.
danger.
What are they seeing on social media? What I've learned is the good news is those kids aren't on X and Twitter. That's for, like, older people.
Right.
They're not on Facebook. What is
What's Facebook? Right?
They don't even know. So, and they're good at selectively hearing things better than sort of Heather and I are.
Yeah.
I mean, you trash me on Twitter. To be honest, it amuses me.
Yeah. Like, keep it coming.
But people in general are much more sensitive to negative comments, to criticism. I mean, there can be 100 positive things that are said about, for example, a housewife on Twitter, X, whatever it's called. All they'll see is the 7 negative, and that's it. So we talk to them about it a lot, and they go, we're okay. So we've learned that social media isn't necessarily as harmful right now for them as we thought it would. It was, but I can't even imagine growing up LGBTQ in another part of the country with parents who aren't accepting for who you are. You know, we always feel it's like blue eyes. You know, you have blue eyes. That's the way you are. I love your blue eyes.
I love that.
And so, but not the entire country feels that way.
Yeah.
So it's really challenging. And there is as you know, a ton of hate. I don't know why. Well, we know why. Well, we have our suspicions why, but it doesn't matter why. It's just there. So if we can put out the message that these are your children, our children, you're criticizing our children, you're criticizing other children are off limits. Let them be their true selves. Whether you agree with it or not, it's not you. It's not about you. It's about them.
Yeah. You've created such a beautiful environment for your children.
Thank you.
That's so wonderful.
Yeah.
I know last year, Heather was, you know, kind of wrapping her head around the whole empty nester thing. How is she feeling about that now?
So we have very different feelings about I can't wait to be an empty nester. She's having a little tough time with the concept that, you know, Kat will be gone in a year. She's applying to college, wants to go to film school. She loves films and wants to be a director. And then Ace will be around for another, 5 or 6 years. And she's already feeling like, oh my gosh, I'm going to see them. I go, honey, they're going to be still around for a while. For me, I'm ready to go. I'm ready to move into that penthouse apartment we have in Century City. That's amazing. So we're excited for things to come. Heather's doing a lot of really interesting things right now that are on the horizon that I think you'll see very soon. And of course, the new season of Housewives is being shot right now. I know we can't. I'm instructed not to talk about it. I promise I won't, except to say, whoa.
Yeah.
And I'm a house husband, and I like don't want to get involved in the fray. I think the fray is a forest fire that you have to be involved with.
Yeah.
There's going to be some really, it just started, so I can't wait to see what's going to happen.
Like you said, you're not allowed to talk about it, but was it a tough decision for Heather to come back this season? Because she came off, it was a little difficult for her at the end of last season.
They were really mean to her last season. And I think by the end of the season, the audience realized, wow, they were mean to her. That wasn't very nice.
Yeah.
A lot of the relationships have been very repaired. So that one of the keys to being a good housewife, besides being your authentic self, is you gotta let things go. And although if you don't let things go, you can be a good housewife too.
Yes.
Heather's very, very good at letting things go. And they all realize Heather's sweet. Heather's the glue that keeps people together. And I think she's really potentially, we'll see what happens, but it's going to play a role of helping to repair relationships and get the group to be a cohesive unit again. But I don't know.
It's a hefty challenge.
It's a hefty challenge. I mean, they've already had some things go on that I've heard about. I went, really? So it's going to be a really interesting season. It's amazing how these housewives shows deliver.
All the time.
Yeah. Wow.
Wow.